Toxic dump sites are in more cities than you know. Hi, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, core faculty for the College of Health Sciences and Public Policy at Walden University. And in this segment, I'm going to be going over EJScreen's environmental justice screening and mapping tool. This is version 2.2. And this actually contains a lot of important information. For starters, this shows you in the United States what type of particulate matter, ozone, and as we know, all of these are hazards for our environment. Particulate matter out of diesel, air toxics, cancer risk, and you can kind of go around and look at the cancer risk in the area, respiratory risk, traffic proximity. We can do a little. This is actually zoomed into Denver, Colorado. Let me zoom out and then zoom back in here. So a lot of these indices, environmental justice indices, are actually more confined to the city. So it's easier to actually explore a city rather than trying to explore the whole country. What I'm going to do, I actually already explored Denver. So what I'll do is I'll go into Philadelphia and take a look at what's going on there. And you can actually take a look at many types of different things that are in the city or county or locale. So let's zoom in here. And then when you go into Philadelphia, let's take a look at the lead paint that's there all over Philadelphia still. Even after the legislation from the 1970s, there's still a lot of lead all in this area. And we can zoom in to see what part of Philadelphia these are. Over here in Stanton, Crescentville, Pennsauken, Point Breeze, all of these areas, Angora, Pascal, all of these areas are actually areas of lead print. And let's see if the lead paint is also follows suit in some of the different areas. Let's look at the Superfund proximity. Now, a lot of these Superfunds are toxic dump sites where there's active cleanup going place. And a lot of those are in impoverished neighborhoods. So the same areas that you see lead are also the areas where you'll see a lot more toxic dump sites that are being cleaned up. Along the Delaware Expressway, actually, there's a lot of dump sites. And then there's underground storage tanks around Philadelphia. Are there any? And yes, there is underground storage tanks. And due to global warming, there's more frequent storms. And when these storms damage a lot of the toxic sites, then there might be leakage into the environment. And then wastewater discharge is something that is also around Philadelphia. As you can see, there's a lot of sources of environmental justice index, and this gives you a nice overview of what is going on within the area. And you can explore not only different cities, you can actually explore these indices. For instance, pollution and sources. Again, some of the same measures are in here, and then in some ways, and then compared to the state, a lot of times you can actually compare the indices to the state. And then there's climate change data here, flood risk, wildlife risk, and some of the flood risk is interesting, since there's areas of Philadelphia that are in lower lying areas. There's all of these areas are actually has a flood risk if there were to be heavy rains. Then another feature that I wanted to mention is if you go into Tools, and then under Tools, if you do a side-by-side comparison, then you can use some interesting characteristics to try to compare between the left and the right. So, for instance, you might want to compare traffic proximity and volume to impoverished areas, and see if there's any sort of correlation between the two. And as you can see, in Philadelphia, there's a correlation between some of the traffic proximity areas and some of the areas that are impoverished, and this parameter here. So this has a lot of time. I like to look at cities because there's a lot of different patterns that follow between each other. And these patterns are important to compare between various measures. So these are all of the different components that comprise the EJScreen, environmental justice screen. I hope this has provided you with some insight. Thank you for listening.